Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Affair, where we take our Wizard of the Coast and pair them up with our saucy media setting. I'm Cody.
And I'm Joe, and we're here to, to and we're here in lovely Ohio on everyone's favorite dating show. Hey Cody,
Woo! Yeah,
I have a question for you.
I'd have an answer.
I'm looking around my neighborhood,
Yeah,
and I would say that there's something I don't know, strange
okay,
in my
interesting.
neighborhood.
Yeah,
So if there was something strange in my neighborhood, who would you call?
the police.
Dun dun do 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 dun
Nah,
dun
man,
dun.
I'd be calling Pete Venkman at the Ghostbusters, baby.
Mr. Venkman to his friends.
Yes,
Uh
Mr. Venkman.
his loyal crew.
Yeah,
The
because
gang's all
he's
there.
definitely he's definitely the brains of the operation for sure.
Yeah, and of course we got his buddies Egon
Yeah,
and Ray
Ray.
and Winston.
Yeah,
And
we
who
got the
could
whole
forget
crew today.
who could forget Janine?
Yeah,
She's
and
important too.
Louis Tully.
Yes. But anyway, our media our media this week is Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
Do 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 da do 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 da da
yeah.
ba do ba
Probably
do
don't
bop.
do any more of that.
I did it so bad that they can't sue us.
It's true. It's true.
I
But
was
yeah,
I was in a wrong key. I
wrong
was
key.
I did the note progression wrong. But anyway, Ghostbusters is like another one of those. eh, Ghostbusters is one of those things where it's a movie that I quite enjoy. It's a lot of fun if I don't think about it too hard, because there's some aspects of it that raise an eyebrow about how the mean old government is hurting good honest businessmen and makes everything
Oh
worse. But
no.
it's a movie that is a lot of fun. It's got some great one-liners, some fun action, and some really cool semi-spooky stuff on the screen. So I was kind of excited when we decided that we were going to be talking about Ghostbusters for this week's Nerdy Affair. Hey Cody, do you have any initial thoughts about Ghostbusters as sort of like a media property, a media franchise, if you will?
Arguably one of my favorite movies, just hands down. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of heart. If we had to put ourselves as to like our responsibilities here on the Nerdy Affair for this particular episode, I am Ray. I'm the heart of the Ghostbusters. That being said, there's just something about this kind of startup story of like how three dudes decided to do a ghost busting, this paranormal extermination service.
Hmm.
It and The whole movie just from front to back is great.
Who would you
Uh
say your favorite is? Is it Ray?
um that's rough. No, man, it's tough, man, cuz like all of them are pretty good in their own way,
That's
but
true.
I think as growing up and even till today, I still think Bill Murray just fucking killed the role of the scientist who kind of is just more like a con man. And he it's this like really warped idea that like, man, if I show all these ladies my big brain, they're gonna love me. And he is the wildest character in that whole crew. um Plus he's like the face. He's just And it's Bill
That's
Murray.
fair.
I
My favorite is Egon.
Egon's
So
great too. Like,
there
yeah,
you
it's
go.
hard. They're all they're all
Yeah,
amazing characters, so it's hard to pick just one, but yeah, they're all, I get Egon. Egon's so funny. Like everything that, like, I love that his character in the movie is just like the ridiculous, like, no nonsense character, but everything that comes out of his mouth just sounds insane.
yeah. It's I love a character with a good dry wit, and his lines are very funny while also being very, uh, very dry.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey Cody, if you had some friends who were like, "Hey, we want to play Ghostbusters out as a tabletop role playing game," is there any mechanics that you might create to give your friends a ghost busting feel?
Yes. Oh my god, yes. So I went a little nuts with this. All
I'm
right. So
excited.
you'll have to bear
I
with
am
me.
excited.
Um, so let's start with the gear, right? You got your proton pack. And this bad boy, much like your standard weapons in D&D 5e, because that's kind of what the show is. It's making 5e mold into our favorite stuff. So it's a, we'll call it, it's almost like a crossbow. It's got 100-foot range, and it shoots a laser tether that does damage to anything it hits or attaches itself to. But at the start, if it hits a ghost, it grapples them. And then there's this kind of constant struggle of maintaining the proton beam on this individual. Um, I could get into the nitty gritty, but basically, for shorthand for the DMs, just furiously scribbling down like, "Oh, this is perfect." Um,
Hmm.
the ghosts, they work pretty much as normal. They can fly, they can go through walls, what have you. But if they get hit by this proton pack, it's basically like a contested grappling check to break free from the proton stream. Um, Creatures stuck in the tether can still move, but they treat each movement as if it was difficult terrain, so that they move slower. And then the tether continually follows the target until they break free. And as an action, the player can move the tethered ghost by doing a contested strength check against the ghost. And if the player succeeds, they can move the ghost up to 10 feet in any direction. However, the kicker here is that multiple people hitting the same ghost, that movement is rolled, or that check is rolled with advantage. So you get to roll 2 dice and have a better chance of moving the ghost further the more people that are attached to the same ghost. And that idea is that ghosts will, because I'm thinking of Ghostbusters from the movie, where they weren't fighting too many multiple ghosts in the same encounters, right? They're fighting Slimer, they're fighting the library ghost in the first movie. I know she has a name, but I've forgotten it offhand. They're fighting, singular entities in most cases.
Yeah.
Um, so these ghosts, they're going to be bulkier, right? You're going to put more HP on them. They're going to be these kind of, these tough cookies, because at the end of the day, the proton pack, when they get hit, does some damage, and then the beam being on them continually does ticking damage as well. The only different thing that I would do is, instead of doing the when a ghost hits 0 HP it dies, because that's kind of boring, but rather they're tired. And when they're tired, they're easier to put into a ghost trap. Basically, they automatically fail their check to escape the trap, right? And so that brings me to the ghost trap, which is this device that everyone has access to, and they can throw it up to 20 feet from them. And when that thing opens, the job of the Ghostbusters is to wrangle and pull them into that trap. And once they get within 5 feet of the trap, they make a dex save, or in the case of having only 0 HP, they're automatically caught. Um, I do have a little side thing for crossing the streams, because crossing the streams is a no go. That shit should hurt the party in a very pretty severe way. So don't cross the streams. But that being said, the idea for your players, instead of getting into like the mechanical, like the nitty gritty, is they're kind of playing they're trying to grapple these ghosts into these traps while doing damage to them. And the ghosts you can give them abilities like they can throw chairs and or like, straight up like attack the individuals. But the idea is that like once they get to the actual like kind of meat of the combat, they're kind of like trying to position themselves to not cross the streams, but also make sure that like they're shooting the actual target instead of like accidentally hitting each other and whatnot, because like that would hurt. um and yeah, that's basically it. It's a device, and then kind of this series of grappling checks to get to pull the ghost into the trap and suck it in.
Hmm.
um so that's how I would do it in 5E's terms. Tweak your enemy encounters so that they're bulkier, so that they don't just immediately get caught. Or maybe you do want them to be weaker. Maybe there's like five little ghosts that are around, and like the party has to like individually like tag and move some into different areas. And it's not about getting the ghost to zero, although that helps. It's about pulling them in that way. um Pulling them into the trap, because that's kind of the heart of quote unquote combat for the Ghostbusters, is wrangling these guys into these traps while doing damage with the proton packs.
Yeah. That sounds great.
Yeah,
Man,
I went, like I said, I went fucking bananas. Like if people are interested, tell us in the comment section, and I'll do a bigger write up, or like a more technical write up,
sure.
so that people can see like, because I did like, this 100-foot laser tether does 1d12 fire damage to any object or ghost it comes into contact with, blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah. Like, I have, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six, like 6 paragraphs of, like, information about ghosts and ghost catching and all that stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun doing this. But
That's
enough
pretty great.
about catching ghosts. Why don't you tell me about the mechanics that you brought to the table?
Oh yeah. Well, so I think that one of the most important things to remember when we're talking about Ghostbusters or building a Ghostbusters RPG is that at its core, some of the humor is derived from the fact that these guys are building a business. There's like a line pretty early on that Ray has taken out like a second mortgage on his parents' house to put the down payment on this business, and so the first part of the movie is
I mean, he
there's
didn't even
there's
bargain with the guy. Just,
no, he
you
didn't
know,
even bargain with the guy.
didn't even bargain with him.
And
I could
so
literally do this all day, so stop me now.
Uh, so I have a question for you, Cody.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of one of the rumors of the original script to Ghostbusters? This ties in, I promise. Um,
I haven't. I'm unfamiliar with. I know some like a little bit of it, like
sure.
historical trivia, but not the original script to a degree.
So I have heard from a couple of different sources that the original idea for Ghostbusters was it was going to be in like the future, and it was going to be like teams of competing ghost busting businesses like kind of racing each other to get to like the ghost first, and like sort of the idea of like private firefighters where it was like, oh, we got a race, and then like we'll negotiate with the person about who is going to get the ghost. And at some
That sounds like a
points,
really cool video game. Let's just put that out
yeah,
there
it sounds
into
like
the
more of a
ether.
video game than a comedy movie. Um, but at some point, someone recommended to Aykroyd to make it smaller and more modern, which I think makes it, in my mind, work a lot better because there's sort of like this sense of triumph watching them build this weird little business over the runtime of the movie.
Yeah.
And so I thought it would be kind of interesting to include a business mechanic into your game. Now, I know don't skip over this section because it's more of building up a layer instead of building up a business. So I don't know if Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is going to include mechanics for like building a base or a layer or anything like that, but there is already some ideas for this if you can get your hands on a copy of Blades in the Dark, which is a game that has a layer mechanic that you can kind of tool around a little bit and make it for your party. or for your game. So the way it works in Blades in the Dark is that you start with a standard layer, and then by successfully completing jobs and earning money, your characters can use some downtime to work on building up the layer to improve it. And the various rooms of the layers do different things. So perhaps it gives you more money storage, or medical room to heal faster, or a torture chamber to get information out of your victim, or things like that. So the way that I would do this in the Ghostbuster game is reward money based on the relative success of your missions. So at the beginning, make it pretty clear what the client wants out of your crew. Do they want you to keep a low profile? Do it's a, oh, this is a historic house, so please don't damage any of the historic pieces in our houses. Um, hey, there's like three ghosts. We need you to get rid of all three of them, but one of them only comes out in like very specific circumstances. But make sure you get all three out. Things like that. So um and this can also include things like, the caliber of ghosts as well. Like, if they go after a big beefy ghost, that might earn a little bit more money than going after yet another Slimer attack, because that little guy just keeps getting out of those traps. Um, but um, basically, the level of success of the mission results in an amount of money that they can either save up to build bigger things or spend to make their rooms better. As a DM, come up with a list of various rooms with various price levels to build and grow your layer to make it better. So, some rooms that I have off the top of my head are things like. An increased ghost storage center, so they can have more ghosts on hand, so you don't necessarily run into a wall of well, you've already caught all of these ghosts, so you're gonna have to figure out what to do with the next step. A lab to improve your ghost hunting tools and equipment to give you pluses. Perhaps a research library that allows you the opportunity to do some research in the various books of the occult that you and your team members acquire. um and so, things like that. Over time too, it can result in getting more help, more people to run your business, and then at that point it can also become something of a resource management game where you can send out your B, C, or D squad to fight ghosts while you save the big boys for yourself. So each of these rooms would have a different price point, like I said, and sometimes your busters might have to wait to save for the better things. But the better your layer becomes, the higher chance you get receiving more prestigious ghost busting cases. So the thing about this is that this is kind of designed for a longer play game. This isn't necessarily something that might work for like a one shot right away, but to give sort of that feeling of a one shot, I would suggest, you know, dropping the pricing down on some rooms, like maybe a room or two, just for them to get the feel of building out their layer. And who
Or
even knows,
if
this could give them the opportunity to inspire a longer game. Yes, you had a
yeah, for
comment.
if you wanted to do a one shot, why don't you give them like one or two upgrades just as like a teaser? And
Yeah, for
then
sure.
that way they can be like, oh well, yeah, before the one shot you guys had made an occult library, so like you have access to this special benefit, and then that might entice people to be like, oh, there's upgrades and stuff, like, oh, we should do like a whole campaign or something like that.
But yeah, so yeah, that was my thought for how to make Ghostbusters feel like you are successfully building a New York business.
Yeah. So we move on from our dope ass mechanics stuff to really get the gears turning in your noggin. And we're going to move over to some GM tips for running a game that feels like Ghostbusters. And I'll start
Okay.
with leaving a satisfying trail for the final encounter. While at its core, Ghostbusters, the movies, were the daily life of a spiritual exterminator, um, there was always this like backdrop issue that turned into the final, the finale of the movie. Right? We've got Gozer, the or not Carpathian,
Vigo the Carpathian.
Oh, that's Vigo. But Gozer the Gozerian was like a
Yes.
demigod that was like kind of slipping through the cracks of reality through Dana's apartment building. And so like they're trying to figure out, like, the inciting incident where Dana gets freaked out because there's a monster in her goddamn fridge and goes and calls these guys. Like that, you got to leave like clues throughout the, whether it's your one shot or the campaign or what have you. You got to leave like little kind of tasty bits to keep them going. Like first it's like, oh, I heard a voice say Zool, and then like they look up what Zool is, and then down the road they're like, oh well, Zool is connected to Gozer, and they're like, oh well, then what the fuck is Gozer? And then they find out what that is, and then it's like, okay, well, why is it in her place? And then they find the building plans, and then they find out that some crazy lunatic built it as a spiritual homing beacon, basically.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. You're leaving them, whether it's a one shot campaign, whatever you're leaving clues to what you want, like that arc or that game to end on. Like if you want the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man to come crashing into New York City, you better be leaving clues as to why there's an interdimensional god like trying to peer into this world. Um, and granted, that doesn't mean you necessarily need to give them all the answers either. It's a delicate balance because at the end of the day, the Ghostbusters barely make it on time. Like they don't learn the ins and outs before it's too late. In most cases, that's what makes the ending so dramatic. Um, but while the players are out fighting ghosts, they should be given clues, like maybe they're spending their off time figuring out what Zool means, or you know things like that. Giving them satisfying information that could otherwise aid them to defeat the final encounter is critical, in my opinion, to giving off that Ghostbusters vibe. Um, that being said, there's a million ways to do this. It's and you don't they don't even have to like have the jump on the situation. Like the situation can go from bad to worse before the party gets everything, and then they're like, oh shit, there's an interdimensional like necromancer who hid himself in a painting, and now he's gonna revive himself by putting himself into a baby, but like he already has the baby, so now we gotta go and fight him. You know what I mean? Like there's
Gotta fight that baby.
you gotta fight the baby. But yeah, and these could be as simple as like small vignettes of scenes. Like they don't even have to be very long scenes. Just like, you know, uh there's a conversation between two members of the Ghostbusters, and like they're looking through stuff, and then the DM tells them like, "Oh yeah, you're learning about, that word you heard, and you find that there's this interdimensional being that like can seep into reality through the cracks and mirrors or something like that." And then once you finally get close to either the end of the one shot or maybe like how you want that whole arc to go, that's when you reveal everything and like let them all in on the secret. Like, oh yeah, the my bad, the Empire State Building is actually a interdimensional portal, so we have to go figure that shit out now. Um, so doing small little, like a nice breadcrumb trail to the ending is what's going to feel like a Ghostbusters movie. Uh, almost like I almost guarantee it.
Yeah. And
So what
then
about you?
my thing is to create a final conflict that rewards brains, not brawn. So once again, I feel like sometimes when we're writing these things, I kind of get hung up on the ending of the movie, and you don't necessarily have to create a beat for beat um experience to make them live the movie or whatever. But it's important to say that it's important to note that in both cases, the Ghostbusters don't necessarily win the day by killing or stomping up or beating up the big bad. They find creative, clever solutions to how to beat the villain. So like, at the end of the first movie, they're pretty outgunned and overpowered because they're fighting a god for, Pete's sake. But um it's probably a little daunting as a DM to even think about how to create a final encounter that'll give your players a satisfactory Ghostbuster feeling, because you want them to feel impressive and full of triumph, but also you want to make them feel like, maybe they are a little outgunned. So there's a couple of ideas that I had for this. My first one is to develop sort of smaller things that will weaken or lower the power level of the big bad. Things like maybe artifacts to smash or a focus item that they have to find. Create a scenario where they have to pay attention to the world that as you're kind of describing them. Um, Things like there are six pylons that glow in a specific order when the enemy does a thing, and if you're able to run over and smash them in the correct sequence without necessarily having your big bad noticing it, that makes it ultimately easier to do something like cross the streams and defeat the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, for lack of a better term. um so this also allows your characters to use their social things, so perhaps a deception check, performance check, or other things to kind of distract the villain while your other party members do a set of smaller skill checks to ultimately weaken. And I think that like the um the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is like a good example of once they blow that up, they have defeated Gozer. But requires the party to make or the characters in the movie, but the party, for lack of a better term, to make a pretty big decision. They're literally putting their lives on the line. So make your party members play in the space, break the rules, assess the situation. D&D oftentimes can be more than just killing the thing. And in this case, it allows you to find a way to let them be smart, not necessarily just like a wrecking ball. So,
Yeah, 100%. That's smart. Get it? Because you use a final encounter with brain, not
brains.
brawn. Yeah,
I did. I was, you know what?
nailed it. Got it.
Yeah. I'm flipping, I'm tossing you a coin.
Oh,
Um, to catch, fling, coin
I
sound,
caught
coin
it.
sound, coin sound, coin sound. But anyway,
Snatch.
those are my thoughts, or that's sort of my big idea. Any closing thoughts on Ghostbusters, Cody?
Uh, yeah. This was really fun to like come up with stuff, and like there's so many things you can do with this. Like I think Ghostbusters 1 and 2 really just kind of scratched the surface of like what you can do with like a the idea of a paranormal investigator. So like get weird, get crazy. Don't don't feel like you have to follow the movies verbatim. In fact, we mostly abstracted whatever, what the core concept was and be like, here you go. Here's a framework for what, a Ghostbusters thing should look like. They should go around and catch some ghosts, but meanwhile trying to solve a mystery behind everything. Or maybe they don't even know the mystery's there until like halfway through. There's so many ways to play out a Ghostbusters game, and just getting weird and occulty and all that stuff. Like that's your ticket into making a very enjoyable, quote unquote Ghostbusters experience.
Yeah, that's sort of my thought as well. I agree with that final assessment. And yeah, I think that with these little things, like making it feel like they're running a business, and figuring out ways to make those tools feel really cool and interesting, or even, hey, playing around with it, and like what does a sidearm proton pack look like, things like that can really allow you to take the fun of that game, and then or the fun of the series, and make it into a pretty enjoyable role-playing game experience. So, hey,
Yeah.
look, off they go on their little date.
Aw, and look at that. They are releasing the Ghosts of the Damned all over New York. It's great.
Wow. That's All right, fair enough. See you next time, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Hey Cody, if people liked this episode and they want to learn more, where's the place that they can learn more?
They can go to our website at www.fandomroulette.com, where all of our episodes go live as they're getting put up, and along with our bios and when we're streaming and all that stuff, you can go to the bottom and there's a little form you can fill out. If you have a nerdy affair topic and would like to tell us what we should try and tackle, give us a little comment there, and we'll look into doing nerdy affairs that the audience likes.
That the people want.
Yeah.
And hey Cody, if someone wants to share an episode with a friend, but they don't necessarily use the same podcasting apps, there we go, that they use, what are some places where people can find more information about our show?
Man, we are all over the place. We're on YouTube, Google Play, or Google Podcasts, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, you name it. All of your RSS podcatching apps. All you got to do is search Fandom Roulette.
And hey, if people want to send us like a funny meme or well, I felt so old when I said that. If people want to send us a funny meme or just check in, see how we're doing, say, that they listen to the episode. Where's some places that people can do that?
Well, you can hit us up on Twitter at fandomr_podcast, and or if you want to send us those sweet, tasty memes, you can hit us up on Facebook and Instagram. All you got to do is search Fandom Roulette.
Also, please remember to like, rate, review, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Ring the bell.
Share with a friend.
Share with a friend. Help move us up the ranks,
All of
because
that greatly helps us and our channel.
yeah. And we know that you can spend you can spend your time in a lot of places, and we want to thank you for spending a little bit of your time with us.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And signing off for Phantom Roulette, this is Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.